There's the all-in.
He said all in?
He said all in.
Pot has got 2.3 million in there. Wesley is just triple barreled with ace king. Look at the size of that pot.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Alec Torelli. Welcome back to the Conscious Poker YouTube. I'm bringing you the breakdown of the biggest pot in live poker history from Italy. I'm reviewing this hand early here in the morning, catching the last part of the live stream. Without further ado, let's dive straight into the action. All right, the game is 501k with a 3k big blind ante, and LSG Hank opens to 7k in the hijack. Now, notably, the players are playing the stand-up game, and if you see that yellow button, it means the player has already won a pot and they do not pay a penalty if they are the last player to win. This creates a lot of action and it changes the way everyone plays, especially pre-flop. Wesley now 3-bets on the button to 30,000. Notably, he already has won a pot, so this means he should have a decently strong hand here. He doesn't need to win a pot or pay the penalty for the stand-up game, so he has no incentive to really bluff. Over to Tom Dwan now in the $2,000 straddle, who does not have a yellow button. What this means is that he has a lot of incentive to make a cold 4-bet here, because if he wins the pot, he avoids paying the bounty. You'll also notice a lot of the other players have that yellow button, and therefore the stand-up game is nearing an end. If he does not win a pot, he has to pay $6,000 to every other player. So he's going to be 4-betting quite wide here. Tom makes the 4-bet to 100k, and it's back over to Wesley, who can really go either way. Folding is out of the question, of course, but he can either call and maintain his position, although this hand is very tough to play against an aggressive player like Tom with the stand-up game when you have no idea where your opponent's really at. Is he bluffing because of the stand-up game? Does he have a really strong hand? Does he have a marginal hand like 10s or jacks just trying to win the pot? I really don't blame Wesley for going either way here. I wouldn't mind calling and just playing the pot in position, but I also wouldn't mind a 5-bet here as well. If Tom jams, you're going to have to fold, but you can just win the pot pre and you kind of make the hand easier to play. Wesley makes a 5-bet to 275,000, which is pretty big here, putting Tom on defense right away. When Tom faces a 5-bet here, even though there is the stand-up game, he still only really beats a bluff. Wesley is not 5-betting with jacks or 10s, I don't think. And he really is up against ace-king, kings, or aces. Otherwise, Wesley has a bluff. So Tom in this spot is not in a great situation. They're super deep. He's out of position. Wesley's an aggressive player. He's going to face a lot of tough action on multiple streets post-flop if Wesley continues telling the story that he has aces or kings. I ran this through a solver, and notably, the solver kind of broke. There's no solution for this spot. You can see here in the post-flop play. But even pre-flop, solvers only do 400 big blinds deep and 6 max. And I ran this through a solver with 3 blinds and an ante and 6 max, which is as close as I can get to this game. And it's playing queens here as a pure call in Tom's spot, which I like as well. I mean, Tom is up against a range that contains aces, kings, maybe ace-king, and some bluffs. So you're going to want to call here pre-flop with your queens, realize your equity, hope for no ace or king, and just pick off bluffs post-flop, which is what Tom does.
Over $500,000 in the pot. We haven't seen a flop yet.
Flop comes down 8-8-3 with 2 diamonds. Tom now has a pure check here. He's going to check 100% of the time on this board over to Wesley, who still has the range advantage, and he's repping aces and kings. Notably, Tom could still have aces here. I think if Tom has aces, he's never going to 6-bet. He's always just going to call, keep his range balanced, and let Wesley continue bluffing if he's bluffing. So Tom's range contains aces and kings as well. Over to Wesley on this flop. I think it could go either way. He can bet here just to kind of keep his lead in the pot, make the hand a little easier to play. He also might have the best hand some of the time, but it just keeps his range quite balanced here and makes this pot very tough to play against Tom, who is in a terrible spot out of position this deep. As you can see here, the solver really doesn't have a solution for this spot, but I think most of the time it's going to be playing queens here just as a call facing this small of a bet. Again, for largely the same reasons we said pre-flop. This board doesn't really change much. If Wesley was bluffing pre, he's still bluffing on the flop. And if Wesley has the hands that he's repping, like aces and kings, queens wants to play this hand just as a call. Back over to Tom, who tanks for a while, ultimately finds the call button, and let's take a turn.
Pot now, 812,000. Dwan with about 1.1 million behind.
The turn comes a 5 of hearts. Tom now checks, of course. Back over to Wesley on this turn, who really has to decide if he wants to keep telling this story. If he bets again here, he's exclusively repping aces, maybe kings, and an 8. I honestly don't even think kings bets this turn just because Tom could have aces, and Tom might not pay off with jacks or 10s on multiple streets. So you really don't want to be betting this turn with kings and then betting the river, because a lot of the times it goes check, call, check, call, check, call. You're going to be up against an 8 or aces. Yeah, you could get value from queens, maybe jacks because of the stand-up game, maybe 10s. Tom's going to hang on a little bit more. But I think a lot of players will play this turn as a check with 2 kings, especially when they're this deep. So when Wesley fires this turn again, it is a very, what is called polarizing bet, meaning he either has hands that are very, very nutted, like aces, maybe kings, or an 8. Otherwise, he's bluffing. Even with kings, Tom's in the blender here, because a lot of the times your opponent just has aces, or maybe he magically hit an 8, and he just stacks you. So I don't mind Wesley bluffing here, because it really is a spot where people don't bluff that often, and if you have jacks or 10s, you might just let this one go. Over to Tom now, and I ran this through a solver here, modifying slightly. Versus small sizing on the turn, you can see the solver with queens actually sometimes raises this turn, even though it mostly prefers calling. And versus bigger sizing, it's jamming quite a bit with queens here. Again, these stacks are a little bit different than what the actual stacks are, but I think the reason it prefers raising with queens here some of the time is just because it denies equity from your opponent's bluffs. If Wesley has something like a straight draw and a flush draw with something like ace 4 of diamonds, ace 5 of diamonds as a pair and a flush draw, or ace deuce of diamonds, it wants to deny equity from those hands. Also from ace king, you don't want your opponent to bet the turn, you call and they hit an ace or a king and they win a huge pot when you could just deny equity. At the same time, if I was in Tom's spot, I don't think I'd be raising this turn. I'd probably play this as a call, just because, again, if my opponent is bluffing, I'd want to call and then potentially let him pick off bluffs on the river, or maybe get away from my hand if I had a read or a certain card came, or if he just went all in. Tom makes the call. Let's take a river. The river's a blank. Tom checks, of course, praying for a check from Wesley. Can Wesley pull the trigger?
All in.
There's the all in.
He said all in?
He said all in.
For sure? Look at this.
He said all in.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna get a water.
Wesley has absolute heart. This is an unbelievable shove here to be able to pull the trigger in a 5-bet pot against Tom in the $1 million game with the stand-up game bounty. This is unbelievable. Whether this play works or not, credit to Wesley for having unbelievable heart to pull the trigger. Over to Tom now, who's in a terrible, terrible spot. Again, running this through a solver, it plays this as a pure call on the river. But again, the solver is not 1,000 big blinds deep. It's not playing the stand-up game. It doesn't have all these unique aspects to the hand. But I think the solver's probably going to call here with queens because it's near top of range. All the draws missed. It still beats ace 4, it beats ace deuce, it beats 5x of diamonds, and it beats complete pure bluffs. It only really loses to aces, maybe kings, and an 8. At the same time, it's an under-bluffed spot in live poker. People typically do not bluff here that often. And so I don't really blame Tom for going either way. This is a spot that is extremely tough. And look, if you call here with queens and your opponent shows aces, you just feel like an idiot, right? You stacked off for 1,000 big blinds in the $1 million game out of position with queens. Like, it's just a spot where it feels so gross to lose. Dwan is no stranger to these spots. This reminds me of a high-stakes hand we played out in Macau. The blinds were 3,000, 6,000 US, and Tom raises, someone 3-bets. I cold 4-bet from the big blind. Tom calls, the other guy calls. The flop comes 7-4 deuce. I bet out, and he just folds queens. He then pays me like something like 10,000 US to see my hand, and I actually had aces. So his reads in these spots are spot on. But can he make the call?
Just under 800,000 to call. We've got 2.3 million in the pot.
Feels like he just flopped the fucking trips.
There's the call.
Hey, call?
Call.
Tom Dwan has just won the biggest pot in the history of televised poker. $3.1 million.
All right, guys, that's it for the hand of the day. If you like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button. It helps definitely show this to more people. And check out the rest of the videos on this channel. Over 500 videos, many hand breakdowns, hands I played from around the world, are the biggest hands that you'll see in live cash games and tournaments. Leave your thoughts in the comment below. Let me know how you would have played this hand. And thanks for your guys' attention. Ciao from Italia. See you in the next one.